What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. Now, before we jump into today's first Entitled Parent story, firstly, if you look at this chart right now, over half of you watching, according to YouTube, are not subscribed to my channel. If you aren't subscribed, please do hit that button. I'm trying to hit 600,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. Oh, and also, I'll be posting twice each and every day throughout the month of December, so you're going to want to get subscribed in preparation for that. Racist entitled mum starts fight for 50p ice cream. This was on New Year's Day, and much to my dismay, I had to work a whopping 8-hour shift selling 50p hot dogs and ice cream, or 64 cents for your USD people. The point is, thankfully the store was closing at 8 o'clock instead of the usual 10 o'clock for the sake of it being New Year. At 8 PM, I rushed to cut off the queue of people, which was met by the usual, "Please, I just want one thing," or "Surely you can let one more in." However, on this fateful night, an entitled mum appears out of nowhere and asks me whether her daughter can have an ice cream. Mind you, there is no sight of a child with her. At this point, the ice cream machines are already being turned off, and I'd already rejected quite a few people who used the same excuses, and so it wouldn't be fair to other people if I let her in and not them. And so I politely explained to her that the queue was closed a while ago and that I couldn't let any more in. She exploded. "It's New Year's Day and you won't let my daughter have an ice cream?" I continue to politely explain to her the same thing. "This is ridiculous. You are so selfish. It's only one ice cream. You won't get fired for it. What's the big deal?" She keeps screaming at my face. Once again, I explain to her the simple fact of how opening and closing hours work, but she yells more obscenities at me and walks up to the family who are the last people in the queue. Essentially, she paid them cash in exchange for them ordering for her, and whilst doing so, she insults me loudly in front of me, whilst giving me snide looks and glares. For some context, I am Asian, so the last straw was when she pulled her eyes back doing that Asian mocking thing, all whilst insulting me right in front of me, how I ruined her day, how I'm a butthole. I am fuming at this point, but because rent is a priority, I go back behind the counter where my manager is serving the last customers. When the last customers are served, the entitled mum runs up to the counter to badmouth me to my manager, complaining that I was being rude, didn't have manners, providing bad customer service, blah blah blah. My boyfriend, fortunately, was working with me on the same day and was serving at the counter alongside my manager. As the entitled mum is ranting about me, he tells her maybe she should be the one to learn a thing or two about manners, and hence the trash show begins, as she yells now at both of us, cursing and flipping us off. My manager kindly asks her to get out. Unfortunately, she did actually get her ice cream, and unfortunately, I encountered many more entitled mums and entitled parent scenarios like that. And unfortunately, racist encounters are frequent and usual for me. But oh well, systemic racism just adds more broth for entitled mum / entitled parent stories. Yeah, I guess if there's one positive thing about systemic racism in 2020 is that at least the stories can be put on the internet for people to enjoy. Nah, I'm really clutching at straws here, just like OP. I mean, this is just horrible. It's just one ice cream. Why does it matter so much to you? I just don't get it. It's 50p worth of ice cream. 64 cents. It's not going to be the be all and end all of your daughter's life, is it? Just get over it. You missed it. You were late to get the ice cream. It's closed. Opening hours and closing hours are a thing, didn't you know? Move on with your day. Move on with the New Year's. "But I want what he got," starts crying. Another Christmas with my entitled aunt and uncle and their kids. Instead of hanging a mistletoe, I really just wanted to hang myself. I mean, F dude. So anyway, here's what happened. 'Twas the morning of Christmas, and all through the house, every family member was having a rouse. The kiddos, myself and my younger cousin crept into the den to see just what Santa had brought for them. My younger cousin saw under my stocking a Pikachu skateboard, something he saw and decided he'd hoard. Okay, look, I don't want to keep rhyming this. Sorry if I annoyed anyone with that, I just wanted to make it interesting for you. So, this little butthole son of a female dog sees the Pikachu skateboard, tells me he wants it. I say, "I want $1 million and a new car. Who died and made you God?" The kid looks at me like I just put a parrot in a microwave. Shocked and insulted, yet still in awe. What an amazing analogy that is, a parrot in a microwave. "Oh, come on, man. You always get the coolest stuff. Look what I got, dude." He points to his stocking full of candy and football stuff. He even got that year's newest Madden game in there. I was in 7th grade, this kid was in 5th grade. Old enough to not cry when you don't get your way on Christmas. Whatever. We creep back to his room, quietly arguing over who gets to keep the Pikachu skateboard under my stocking. I get on the top bunk of his bed, and he tells me, "You're gonna give me that board. I'll make you." I tell him not a snowball's chance in heck. We wait for our parents, grandma, and his older sister to wake up. The kid tries to act surprised at what he got for Christmas, but I didn't because I just think it's pointless to do that when you already know what you got. I got a good load that year too. I always do, but that was a memorable one. My younger cousin tells his mum that he might want to trade with me. His mother, or my aunt, looks like Coraline's mother. She turns her creepy claymation looking head to me. "Is it okay if you trade with your cousin?" I tell her, "Depends. I totally want my skateboard." But my younger cousin says, "Well, that's what I want." I say, well, I'm not interested then. My aunt says, "Let's wait until we open gifts. Then you'll all know what you have and you'll all be able to change your mind." We open gifts. When he asks again if I want to trade, I repeat myself again. Nope, I think I'm fine with what I got. My mum says, "Son, go put your stuff in the car, we're leaving after lunch." Just something to break the situation. Now my younger cousin screams, "But I want what he got. I want that skateboard." He hides his face and starts acting like he's crying. I still say no. At this point, my aunt looks at me like I farted in an elevator, offended and annoyed. My mother helps me take my stuff, grabbing the skateboard first. "Wait," my aunt yells. "Can I look at the skateboard? I may just go and buy the same one." She takes a picture of it with her flip phone. After we put all of our stuff in the car, we all decided to go back to sleep. All except my younger cousin, of course. I'm sleeping on the couch. When we wake from our siesta, it's near lunchtime. The sandwiches that my mother and Nana would make on Christmas time were unlike anything else. Paired with pineapple pie, it's like a party in your mouth. What a weird combination. I ask where my cousin is. His mother says he's at a friend's house playing football. While we're all eating, my cousin walks into the house. He's got this look on his face, like he's almost accomplished a difficult feat. He says he isn't hungry. Okay, that's weird coming from him. He almost always has an empty stomach. He also avoids eye contact with me. I get suspicious, so I get up to look in the car to see if anything is missing. The kid says, "No, wait!" I open the car door, and this butthole had apparently been skating on my board. He took the car keys from my mum's purse and had unlocked the car with it. But he didn't just skate on it, he had somehow, and I don't know how, managed to break the thing in two. And he thought I wouldn't notice it if he tried to tape it back together with electrical tape. I was of course fuming. Now I'm crying because this butthole always has this "if I can't have it, nobody can" motto. I've never wanted to hurt someone so bad before in all my life. Moral of the story, don't let your kid be a redneck Dudley Dursley. Hey man, what's Dudley Dursley ever done to you? I thought he was alright, isn't he? I know he's a bit annoying, but he's not the worst character in the whole of the Harry Potter series, is he? I thought he was a decent lad. The funniest thing for me about this whole story is that the guy knew he effed up majorly, right? He's like, I've broken this new skateboard in two. What am I going to do about it? Tape it back together. Because the OP is never going to realize that his brand new skateboard has got electrical tape around the middle of it. I mean, come on, how stupid do you have to be? At that point, just admit your mistake. I know this guy's only young, but just say, look, mate, I'm sorry. I did go on it. I really wanted it. I'll get you a new one when I can afford it. My bad. But no, just a little bit of tape and it's all brand new. Now for our final story, revenge on my abusive mother. She never knew it was me responsible for the clink. This happened in 2004 when I was 14. A bit of backstory before I begin. My mother is not a good person. She was abusive verbally for most of my life until I was 14 when her abuse turned physical. Because of her abuse, I came up with creative ways to punish her in my own petty way. like tampering with her food and dunking her toothbrush in the toilet every day. This story is one of my better petty revenges towards her, and the one that annoyed her the most. Yes, this is on Entitled Parents, don't be confused. I talked to my friends about the things she did to me, and although I appreciated the advice to go to the police, I knew that wouldn't work. My mother is very convincing when she wants to be, and every other time I went to the police, they never believed me. One of my friends, who we'll call Tom, gave me a brilliant idea that would annoy her to no end, but wouldn't get me in trouble. His dad is a mechanic, so Tom knows his way around a car. After school that day, I went with him to his house. He showed me a place underneath the car, between the top of the front wheel and the side of the engine, and told me what to do. Bring on the pettiness. I had to wait a few days to enact my revenge, but the day finally arrived. My mother and my sister left the house to ride their horses, which gave me plenty of time to do what needed to be done. The next day, I went with my mum and sister to do grocery shopping, and I was elated to hear the product of my labour as the car started to drive down the driveway. Clink, clink, clink. Yes, dear readers, I attached a rock to the end of a string inside the car that made a loud clink sound every few seconds when the car was moving. My mum said, "What the heck is that?" No idea. Maybe you should go to the mechanic to have a look at it. Remember how I said that Tom's dad is a mechanic? Well, he's the only mechanic in the town we lived at, and Tom made sure to tell his dad about the things my mother had done to me. Needless to say, he was on my side. So after we'd done our shopping, we stopped at the mechanic so they could look at it and fix whatever needed fixing. My mum said, as we arrived at the mechanic, "Hi there, well, my car is making a weird noise when I'm driving. Can you look at it for me?" "Sure thing. How about you take a seat inside and I'll give it a drive and see what the problem is." He got in the car and drove it around the block. When he returned, the noise had miraculously stopped. He charged my mum for the check and we were on our way, but not before Tom's dad subtly handed me the rock back and gave me a wink and a smile as I left. That night, I put the rock back in its place and left it to do its thing for the next day, and oh boy was this satisfying. The next day, the noise was back, so my mum went back to the mechanic, but this time, the mechanic couldn't find anything wrong with it and couldn't hear any noise. I never bothered taking the rock out after that, and neither did the mechanic. He'd experienced her entitlement firsthand and had heard many stories from other people around town about her. The rock wasn't actually damaging the car or affecting its performance, so there was nothing that actually needed fixing. I moved away to live with my dad when I was 16, but before I moved, the clink was still there, tormenting my mother every time she drove the car. I lost count of the number of times she took it back to the mechanic and the amount of money she spent on getting rid of the clink. The last time I saw my mother, I was 23, and she still has the same car. I'd expected the rock to have fallen out by then, but the car still has a clink, but not as loud. I mean, first of all, what I'm going to say is, great prank. I mean, that is an incredible way to get back at your mother. Imagine that every day you get in the car, you're like, oh, not this again. What is wrong with my stupid car? Why can't the mechanic fix it? But secondly, I want to say that your mother is stupid. Yes, she is abusive and entitled, but on top of that, she is just dumb. If I was in that situation, surely after going back to the same mechanic a couple of times and them taking more money from you, you'd be like, wait, this isn't getting fixed. How about I try another mechanic? Crazy idea, I know, but perhaps one person isn't able to fix the problem. Let me go to someone else. I don't understand how this mum can be so stupid. That would be the first thing I would think of after a few times of failing at a mechanic. And then, yeah, a new mechanic who didn't know about OP's plan would, of course, find the rock in there. Not that hard. But overall, this entitled mum definitely deserved this prank, or this revenge, let's say, or this petty revenge, because abuse from a mother, that is a terrible, terrible thing. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/Entitled Parents. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want more right away, click this. If you're new to the channel, click this. Remember, we have 62 videos coming up in December. You want to be subscribed to my channel, guys, so not miss out on all that double daily content. So yeah, hit subscribe, turn your notifications on, and get ready.